bonus episode of Is This a Great Game or What? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian. I'm his son, Jeff Kurkjian. Dad, it is the trade deadline. Well, it's over now. We are recording this at 6:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 31st, which means the trade deadline closed 55 minutes ago. And Dad, you have been on TV all day. You are in Bristol right now, hiding in some sort of studio. And you've got another hit to do on Buster Olney's Baseball Tonight podcast in 20 minutes. So we're going to squeeze this whole episode. We're going to get all we can out of it in less than 20 minutes in order to get the family, as we call them, everything they need to know in this bonus episode about the trade deadline. How are you even still operating at this point with your crazy day, Dad?
Jeff, I'm working on 4 hours sleep, and we're not going to get to everything that the viewer or the listener needs, because if we got to everything, it would take like 30 hours. That's how much went on at the trade deadline. Yesterday, there were 16 trades. Today, there were over 30 trades made, and it was crazy. And the theme for the whole thing for me, Jeff, was the trade deadline essentially started with relief pitchers, and it ended with relief pitchers. Relievers basically ran the day, which should be no surprise, Jeff. 40% of our innings pitched in the big leagues today are being pitched by relief pitchers. They're more important now than ever. So you go and look at what the Padres did. The Padres traded for Mason Miller. 20 saves this year, throws 102 miles an hour. So we thought maybe they're going to trade Robert Suarez, who's their closer, who also throws 100, and he leads the National League with 30 saves. Instead, they held on to him. They also have Jason Adam, who made the All-Star team, Adrian Morejon, who's got tremendous stuff. So now if the Padres are ahead after 5-6 innings, you could pretty much think the game is over. I think the Padres did a marvelous job at the trade deadline. They also filled left field, which has been a problem all year. But Jeff, this is the big difference between when you're growing up in baseball and when I grew up in baseball. Relievers are more important than the starters. Agreed?
Big time, Dad. And that was all of the hot talk, was not as much starters that were on the trading block, but the relievers. You're right. It's crazy the amount of trades for relievers.
Right. And the Yankees, of course. The Yankees went out and got David Bednar, the closer for the Pirates. They also went and got Camilo Duval, who's been the primary closer the last few years for the Giants. So you add them to Devin Williams and Luke Weaver. The Yankees now have 4 closers on their team. Now, how they're going to divvy up the saves and the late innings is something that Aaron Boone is going to be happy to do, because he's got 4 really good lockdown pitchers at the end of the game. And, the Yankees, we thought were going to get a starting pitcher. When the price was too high for some of them out there, they said, all right, the next best thing to do is to build a deep, versatile bullpen. I told you that Davey Johnson should be a Hall of Fame manager. Told me 30 years ago, you win in the postseason with bullpen and bench. And that's how teams are approaching this, including the team across town from the Yankees, the Mets. They went out and got Ryan Helsley from the Cardinals. He led the major leagues in saves last year. He hasn't been quite as effective this year, but he's still really good. He's added to a Mets bullpen, of course, that already has Edwin Diaz. They added Tyler Rogers. They added Gregory Soto. So I thought they might have the deepest bullpen in the major leagues until the Padres finished their trade deadline. So this is the point. And you talked about the Phillies. Johan Duran is the best reliever of all of them to move during the trade deadline. Jeff, he throws over 100 miles an hour. He is overpowering, and he gives the Phillies exactly what they need, a swing and miss arm at the end of the game. You must be thrilled as a Phillies fan.
Yeah, I mean, living outside Philadelphia and adopting this team when we moved here in 2022, we're really, really excited. And I had to explain to my wife, Emily, who doesn't really understand what the trade deadline is, only knows that for some reason on a Thursday night, I have to go do a podcast with Pop. So she doesn't love the trade deadline because of that. But right. I had to explain we got the hardest throwing reliever that was on the market, and we're better for it. So she's pretty excited too.
Right. Well, she should be. And a lot of other teams should be excited about what happened at the trade deadline. If you're a Twins fan, you're not very happy because that was a full-blown sell-off, which is really unfortunate. But the real surprise to me is that Carlos Correa went from the Twins back to the Astros. Now, I asked people this morning driving up here, and I was told, well, they're still talking, but I was told by his source, I don't think this is going to happen unless the Twins pick up 50% of the contract. Instead, it appears they picked up a third of the contract, meaning the Astros are going to pay the rest. But keep in mind, Correa can play shortstop until Jeremy Pena comes back from injury. And when Jeremy Pena does come back, Correa can play third base. And because they have significant issues, Isaac Paredes is out for the season, their third baseman. Yordan Alvarez still has a bad hand. We're not sure when he's coming back or what he's going to do. So the Astros looked at the situation and said, in the American League, the Mariners just got really good all of a sudden in our division. And even though we have a 5-game lead, we have to do something to keep up with them. So they went and got Carlos Correa. And I love this, Jeff. Jeremy Pena replaced Carlos Correa as the shortstop for the Astros, and they share the same birthday. Now, really, what are the chances of that happening? So now if Correa plays third every day once Pena gets healthy, and Pena plays shortstop, the third baseman and the shortstop have the same birthday. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, you would be so excited if there was a 5-6-3 double play, wouldn't you?
Of course. I'm always excited about things like that. So, Jeff, a million moves today, but I think the Mariners had the best trade deadline of all because they picked up, and it goes back 10 days. They went out and they got Josh Naylor to play first base. He is a tough out, and he was significantly better than the first baseman that they had before. Then they went out and got Eugenio Suarez, who has 36 homers and leads the National League with 87 RBIs. And just as important, he used to play for the Mariners. He's very comfortable in the clubhouse. They love him. They didn't want to let him go in the first place. He is an absolute leader of men. He is one of the most popular players in town, in the clubhouse, everywhere he goes. So now they have a corner infielder, a first baseman, and a third baseman that can mash. And that goes with Julio Rodriguez, with J.T. Crawford, with Randy Arozarena, and of course with Cal Raleigh hitting the middle of the order. Jeff, this 1-6 for the Mariners might be the best 1-6 that I've seen them have in over 20 years. And to take that with the really good pitching that they have, suddenly the Mariners have gone as a team now that is good enough to not only win the division, even though the Astros got better too, but they could win the World Series with the team that they have right now. That's how good their pitching is, and that's how much they have upgraded their offense.
It's incredible. Dad, is that Buster Olney coming through?
That is Buster Olney right behind us, and as soon as we're done with this, come on in and say hi, Buster. So Buster
is giving
Buster just did the 2-hour baseball tonight. And as soon as you and I are done with a special edition of Is This a Great Game or What? Buster and I are going to go over there with Jeff Passan, and with Jed Hoyer is going to join us on the phone. And we're going to do, as Buster calls it, 30 teams in 30 minutes. I told him we'll never get it done in 30 minutes, but we're going to try.
Dad, do me a favor. Ask Buster right now, what was the biggest signing? Which free agent was the biggest? Have him say it into the microphone.
Okay, Buster, we need your help one more time back here beyond just sticking your thumb up. Jeffrey Kurkjian wants to know what was the biggest move the one single biggest move of the trade deadline.
The Mariners adding offense, to me, they're the big winners. They're the team, seeing how wide open the American League is. I think they are going for it. I love it. This time of year, we find out which general managers are afraid of making mistakes and which general managers are trying to win a World Series. And I mentioned to Tim before the first game of the World Series in Seattle, Ichiro throws out the first pitch. Game 2, Junior Griffey. Game 3, Randy Johnson. You pushing back?
Right. See, this is Buster thinking ahead. He's already got the World Series being played in Seattle. First time the Mariners have ever won. He's even chosen the first ball recipients in all 3 games in Seattle. Typical Buster, way ahead of everybody else.
Tell Buster I said thank you. Awkwardly, Dad, you're on headphones, so he wasn't able to hear me back and forth, but he gave us just a great little soundbite there from back behind you after giving you bunny ears quite a few times. So, you guys are just having a blast over there, aren't you? Jeff Passan,
Right.
Buster Olney,
Right.
the whole team is in Bristol.
And we can all agree that the biggest winners at the trade deadline are the writers who no longer have to chart every single trade. Now, again, I'm not even close to being in that category anymore. I used to be a long time ago, but Buster works his butt off. And Passan was on the air today for 2 straight hours, breaking stories, phone calls, emails, texts, everything else. So the writers are the biggest winners because the pressure is off. The trade deadline is over. And as much fun as it is really difficult to do, especially when you're under the gun against the clock. But it's a marvelous day for baseball fans. I still love it after all these years.
Well, Dad, that wraps up our bonus episode, right?
That's it, Jeff. We have no Kurkjians. We have no Best of All Tim. We have no Ozzy to Oral. This is a special edition just involving trades. That's it. And I'm thrilled, and I hope Emily isn't too angry that we took you away from the dinner table to edit this little extra episode.
No, I don't think so. I think she was very curious about which team really won the trade deadline. So when I tell her it was the Mariners with Eugenio Suarez, she's going to be ecstatic. All right, Dad, we'll go. You've been awesome today on the air. Thank you for taking some time for your podcast. Is this a great game or what? And also you can hear Dad on the Baseball Tonight podcast with Buster Olney, and of course, see the coverage on ESPN. So Dad, I'll let you get back to your friends and your work, and thank you all for listening, and thanks for being a part of the family. Back with you Tuesday with a new episode. See you, Dad.
See you, Jeff.